afternoon. Uh, there we go. My name is Tron Lepet, the operational lead for Bridge to Life, and welcome to our final event in this month's Career and College Series. And what a wonderful way to end it, a meaningful way to end it. It is my honor to kick off tonight's workshop, From Desk to Doc, the Journey to Medical School. We are honored tonight to have with us two passionate and compassionate physician leaders from Broward Health. We have Dr. Patricia Rowe King and Dr. Jean Dominique Farreau. They will be speaking with us about the exciting journey to becoming a doctor, everything that's involved, everything that you're looking for. Before we hear from them, and we're so thankful for their time, before we hear from them, a few thanks that we'd like to offer our B2O partners. Thanks to Broward County Public Schools, of course, Palm Beach Schools for all their work, Osceola Schools, Broward Area STEM Ecosystem, for short, we call that BASE, the City of Fort Lauderdale, the Children's Services Council of Broward, and our special partner for this evening, Broward Health Graduate Medical Education. Thank you so much for all of your work with us, partnering with us, and continue to partner with us and grow. Students, let's take that time to do what you do at the beginning of our meetings. Let's introduce yourselves. We want you to introduce yourselves in the chat so we know who we have with us. So what are we looking for if this is not your first time that you know what to expect here? We're looking for your name, your school name, and your grade level. So please put that in the chat, and it's important while we're talking about it. Let me also mention this. Q&A will be conducted in the chat. So please continue to use the chat for any questions, anything that you have. Let's use the chat for that matter. By the way, you want to stay until the end because we have a raffle coming up. We have a raffle at the end, all right? So listen to everything, listen very carefully, take notes, take copious notes, okay? So continue putting your name, all that information in the chat. Thank you so much. We have some folks in here, College Academy, what's going on? Welcome, welcome College Academy. Rose Law, awesome. All right, our agenda. So we will first have Drs. Rowe King and Farreau share their career journey. Then Dr. Rowe King will walk us through how you go about becoming a doctor, right? All the steps that you need there. We will take your questions, and then I'll spend about 10 minutes towards the end of the segment talking about scholarships, ways that you can pay for college and medical school, all right? And then we'll end the night with a raffle and request that you complete a very important survey. We always post a survey, but we need you guys to complete it. So please stay all the way until the end, okay? With that being said, we got the agenda out of the way, we got the housekeeping out of the way, we've done the introductions. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce Drs. Rowe King and Dr. Farreau. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us this evening. And if you don't mind, Dr. Rowe King, may I begin with you?
I don't mind at all. Good evening, everyone. We're so honored that you chose to spend a Friday evening with us. We're here to tell you that we need you, we want you as our colleagues, and you absolutely can do it. So I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about myself. I was born in the little island of Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, third biggest island in the Caribbean, and lived there until I was 18. But I always wanted more. I always thought that there was more to see, more to do. We're a tiny island of 2 million people. So I came to Boston because a friend of mine had gone to Boston the year before, knew not one thing about Boston except somebody had been there the year before. Went to Boston University for college where I majored in biology and I minored in psychology. I got there and I froze to death, completely froze to death. In Jamaica, it's between 80 and 90 degrees, 24/7, 12 months a year. Not so much in Boston. It was gray and drizzly, and at 4 p.m. it was dark. But I loved what I was studying. I loved being in a college town. I took full advantage of everything I could. I did every odd job I could find until I finally got a job at the medical school testing urine. That doesn't sound like a sexy thing, but I loved it because I was in the medical school. I was closer to what I wanted to do. So got through college, even though I cried every day because I was so cold, and heard about Miami and said, I have to get out of here, applied to the University of Miami, and I got a full scholarship. So I know tonight we're going to talk about how do we pay for this. Got a full scholarship to medical school and ran down to Miami where I put my flip-flops on my shorts and saw palm trees. And I just knew this was my place. This was what I could do. Had a great time in medical school at the University of Miami. Fell in love with kids. Initially, I thought I was going to do veterinary medicine, but veterinary medicine and pediatrics are very similar. So fell in love with kids and knew that that was my passion. That's what I was going to do. When I left the University of Miami, I went into pediatric residency training, and having found Miami, I was never going to leave. So I did residency at Jackson Memorial Hospital, which is right at the University of Miami as well. Saw everything, did everything, had phenomenal training. And at the end of that, I went into private practice. And a lot of people telling me, you can't go into private practice. Nobody's ever going to come and see you. Nobody's going to trust you. Can't do that. I was 5 foot tall. I still am 5 foot tall. I was about 80-something pounds. They're going to think you're a child. All the different reasons why I couldn't do what I did. Went into private practice, loved it. I joined one other woman. And this was back in 1991 when I went into practice. There was not another 2 female physician pediatric group. And we set up shop in Broward County, actually in Tamarack, right close to Coral Springs and Plantation and Margate and all those places, and had a fabulous time in private practice. But I was married and I had a bunch of kids. I had 3 children. And at the time, medicine wasn't set up the way it's set up now. So we didn't have pediatric emergency departments and pediatric hospitalists and that kind of thing. So I had to round in the morning at hospitals and round at night at hospitals. And I was never home and I was never seeing my children. And I realized that I was taking care of everybody's children but my own. So then I came to Broward Health in 1996. And that was one of the best things I have ever done. It's been my home for the past 25 years. And I came here as a pediatric hospitalist, which meant I did shift work. So my work was predictable. I worked 10 days a month, 10 24-hour days a month. And people might go, oh my God, you work 24 hours. That was great because when I was here, but the other 20 days, because in a 30-day month, the other 20 days I was off. I was home with my children. I've done many things here at Broward Health. I became very active in the community. I love the chronically complex child, so I did a lot of work with them. Then I became chief of the Children's Hospital here. I did that for 6 years. Then I knew I loved to teach. I knew I had a lot of stories to tell. With all my trip from being an immigrant to having to fend for myself, I came here by myself, having to just make my way and navigate this whole medical school process. I knew I had a lot to teach. So I started the pediatric residency program here at Broward Health. Did that 10 years ago. And now I am the designated institutional officer, which is a lot of words to say that I run all the residency programs here at Broward Health. We have 11 ACGME residency programs, an OMFS program, which is oral maxillofacial surgery, and 2 pharmacy programs. And at the present time, we have about 192 residents. And we're expanding GME to about 350 residents we'll have at the end. What keeps me going? I love kids. I love taking care of people. I love teaching. I love educating. I love inspiring. And most of it is just sharing some of the things that I have done to make sure I keep on going. I never give up. I'm never dissuaded by anything anybody tells me. If I don't know how to do it, I'm going to learn. And I just keep on moving through because I know once you don't stand still, once you're moving forward, you're going to get there. So we have a lot of things to tell you this evening to show you how you can be one of us. I'm going to pause. One of my brand new residents, Dr. JD, is going to wow you. So I want Dr. JD to talk about himself because he is amazing. And he's just starting and we're looking up to him every day. So Dr. JD, you're on.
Dr. Rokeem, thank you for the introduction. I hope I can live up to the introduction. My name is Dominique Farrell, JD for short. I'm a native of Broward County. I was born and raised in Broward County. I live just about everywhere that you could live in Broward County. I went to school at Deerfield Beach High School, as far as the last school I've been to. And then from there, I graduated. Yep, Buck Pride. Who is that? I see that. Buck Pride. From there, I graduated. I went to Florida State University. I had a great time over there. I pledged Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I majored in exercise physiology, and I graduated. And from there, I enlisted in the Army. I became a combat medic, and I served for close to 2 years before I got into medical school. And then from there, I was able to speak with my commander, and they basically really, I was actually really blessed. They worked out a situation where I could still serve with the National Guard and go to medical school and really put all my focus into medical school. So I always say I'm living a dream, and I'm blessed because I've had a lot of resources, a lot of people, a lot of support of people to help me. I always say where I lacked in resources, I had in support of people around me and loved ones. So after that, I got into medical school. I went to American University Caribbean. It's in St. Martin. We did 2 years in St. Martin, and then 2 years in the U.S. where we do our clinical rotations. I did all mine through Jackson. I actually got really lucky but unlucky. While I was in St. Martin, we got hit with a record-breaking 5.5 Hurricane Irma. It completely wrecked the island my first week of medical school. But then they sent us to England. So I got a chance to study medicine in England. I remember I used to see in college kids going abroad to study something abroad. And I used to always say, I'm too broke to go study abroad. But I actually had the opportunity to do that while I was in medical school. So that was a blessing. I came back and I did my rotation through Jackson Medical. And then from there, I applied. Honestly, if I could have applied to one residency, I would have, but that's not the smartest thing to do. But emergency medicine was the top of my list. Emergency medicine at Broad Health specifically was the top of my list. And I was blessed. I got my first pick in emergency medicine in the city where I want to be in at Broad Health. And I am here now. I'm a first-year resident in emergency medicine at Broward Health. I'm loving what I do every single day. I couldn't really have picked anything better than this. I couldn't have asked for anything more than what I have now. I honestly am blessed. Whenever people ask me how I'm doing today, I always say living a dream, because this is honestly the dream that I've had since I was a child. And I'm even more blessed with the opportunity to pour into you guys who are aspiring to be in medicine, who have all these questions, who don't really know where to go. I'm in the same position that many of you are in. Some of you guys may have some family who have background in medicine, who have doctors in the family, and that's great. Use the resources you have as much as you can. Learn as much as you can from the resources that you have within your family. But then some of you are just like me. My mother was a nurse. She worked really hard as a nurse. A lot of my aunts were nurses. Some of my aunts were nurses and PCAs at Broward Health. I actually just spoke to Dr. Roking about how one of my aunts, she remembers her as she went at working as a PCA at Broward Health. When she seen me have pictures that I had with Dr. Roking. But I never had any physicians in my family. I'm the first physician in my family. It was a long road. It was a hard road. It still is a hard road because there's a lot that goes into it. But like I say, what I lack in resources, I have in support with the family around me. And I'm more than happy, and I wish you guys could see how I felt about this program, because if I wish I had something like this when I was in your position, because it's something that, I can't say that I'm going to give you the key. I'm going to give you the key to be successful and to become a doctor, and it's just going to happen just like that. But I can't give you my experience. I can't give you some pointers on things that I would have done different, so you don't have to go through the same things that I went through. And that could be worth a lot. If I would have just had anybody telling me that when I was in the position that you're in now, that could have made my journey so much different. So for those of you who don't have my information or who would like my information, if you want to reach out, whatever it is, I would love to answer whatever questions you have. And I can't wait to get to working with you guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Farrell. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your candid story. Also, thank you, Dr. Roking, for your candid story. And we thank you guys for your commitment, of course, and your commitment of being here and what you do daily, the passion that you have, the drive that you have. We truly appreciate that. Now, we will turn the floor back over to Dr. Roking to walk us through the journey to medical school. Dr. Roking, the floor is yours.
Okay, you guys are going to do the slides? Perfect. So I want you all to know from the beginning that we're going to show you how to get here. It's a recipe. When I say a recipe, you guys all know how to bake a cake or to make something. There are many, many ways to do it, but you want to follow all the steps, because if you leave out any crucial step, it doesn't work. First part of that step is to find your passion. So who is a doctor? What is a doctor? When we say doctor, what do we mean? Next slide, please. So we have the very best job in the world. Every day we are blessed. Every day we get up raring to come to work, raring to be part of patient-doctor interaction, raring to be able to inspire and empower and walk with our patients. And we are so privileged to be able to do that. There's so many parts of our job. So the part that's, everybody thinks of is a doctor is a person that uses their tools to heal something. But we also teach. A lot of our work is teaching others how to take care of themselves, empowering others how to live their life to the fullest. Lots of our job is trying to answer questions. So every doctor is curious. Why does that work like that? What does that mean? How can we find a better way to do that? So we're always trying to answer questions. We're researching, we're innovating, we're making a difference. We're trying to find a different way. And we're learning, we're lifelong learners. We have committed to always reading, always learning. Medicine is changing. We just had a pandemic, who knew? We're always learning, and we're always learning together with our patients, from our patients, as well as teaching our patients. Next slide, please. So how do we go on this journey? Everybody's path is different. So you heard my story, you heard Dr. JD's story. You have to find your story. So I want you tonight to reflect on, what is it that you love? What is it that you do? What is it that makes you smile, that nurtures your spirit? You've got to find your purpose. You've got to find your passion, and then you go for it. And you're going to create your unique path. So you might be a football player. Do that and do that well. You might be a dancer. Do that and do that well. You might be a debater. You might be the person that's in Model UN. Whichever, you might be in the orchestra. You might be a great artist. Whatever is your path, then that's what you're going to do. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't think that, oh my gosh, all the kids that are going to medical school are the debate team. Well, if you're not a good debater, that's not really your thing, but you are a phenomenal gymnast or you're a cheerleader, that's what you do, right? So follow your passion, because you can't do it if you don't love it. You gotta love it. I take care of kids whether they pay me or not. I'm taking care of kids on mission. I'm in different countries taking care of kids. It's my job, but it's my heart. You've got to find your heart. And having found it, you're going to prepare yourself, right? Remember that recipe story. You're going to prepare yourself. You're going to read. You're going to figure out what are the steps that I need to do to get to where I want to be. So if I'm here and I want to go to Tampa, I'm going to put it in my GPS because I need to go on the quickest, hopefully most efficient route to get to where I want to go in Tampa. I'm going to prepare, prepare, prepare. Next slide, please. What does it take? What it takes is somebody that knows this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to give up. Doesn't matter what, I am not going to give up. Also, somebody that knows, you know what? sometimes there's a big accident on the road. I'm driving to Tampa, there's a big accident. I have to divert and go on another road. You've got to be flexible. In medicine, every single day is different. So working here at Broad Health, we might have 6 traumas come in one day. We might have 25 babies born in one day. We might have whatever, airport shooting. We don't know what's going on. You have to stand on your toes. I tell my residents, never stand flat-footed. Always be on your toes, always be ready, always be flexible. You've got to love people. You've got to love what you do. You've got to want to make a difference, and you've got to be all in. Medicine is not something that you do kind of part-time when you want. No, you're all in. You love it. You want to learn as much about it. You're dedicated to it. All right, next slide. So here are some things that I hear people say all the time. I'm not smart enough to be a doctor. I'm not good enough. I'll never be able to afford it. I'm not good at tests. I can't do those tests and I can't do math. Be careful of the messages you tell yourself in your head. Be careful of what you tell yourself. Okay, we all can do it. There's no such thing as not being good at math or not being good at science. What it is that you have to learn, how do I learn best? Am I a visual learner? Do I need to do and hear things many, many times? Am I an auditory learner? Do I have to touch and feel things to learn it? What is the best approach for me to learn something? Many of us, sometimes we need to spend extra time. We might need extra tutoring or we might need other resources. But if we say we want to go someplace, we're going to figure out how we're going to get there. So all the tests that you have to take a bunch of tests between now and when you get into medical school and graduate, and we're still taking tests. We're probably the only profession in the world that every 7-10 years we're taking our board still to make sure that we're at the top of our game. That's why we keep taking our tests. Make the test your friend. There's no such thing as I'm not good at tests. Of course I'm good at tests. I love tests. Ask me anything. That's me, right? I want to read. I want to learn. I want to be on the top of my game. Bring it on. Befriend your test. Figure out what am I doing that makes me not get a test score that I want. It's usually study approach, study skills, not enough question practice before. But realize there's no such thing as I'm not good at anything. We all are good at all things if we would prepare and remove the barriers that prevent us from getting the results that we want. Next slide, please. So your path starts right now in high school, right now. You've got to commit to doing what you're doing well. So your grades, you need good grades. To get into medical school, you need good grades. You want to build your foundation. Science subjects stack on top of one another, right? So for math, it stacks on one another. So if you don't understand algebra 1, you won't be able to do algebra 2. Geometry is going to mess you up. Calculus is going to mess you up if you haven't gotten the building blocks, right? You can't build the roof of a house before you build the ground floor. It's going to fall down. Got to build the foundation and the walls. So make sure that in your classes, you're invested, you understand, and if you're not understanding and it's not coming very easily to you, use your resources, go to your guidance counselor, try to get tutors and so forth so that you understand your classes. Always try to take the most advanced classes that you can that are appropriate for you, right? So if you're not doing well in algebra, don't take calculus 2 yet, right? You need to build your foundation, be strong in it, and then work your way up. If your high school is offering, when you get to that point, AP or IB classes, try to take the highest class that you can. You want to do extracurriculars because in medicine, we're taking care of all kinds of people from everywhere. At Broad Health, we're taking care of every sort of person, right? So I'm taking care of the person that was born in Fort Lauderdale. I'm taking care of the person that just came off the plane at Fort Lauderdale Airport. That's coming to me from Alaska, or that's coming to me from Australia, that's coming to me from China, or that's coming to me from Uganda. I don't know, they're coming from everywhere with every different language, every different culture, every different religion. I need to be able to talk with everybody, understand everybody, be empathetic with everybody. So I need to do a lot of things. I can't just study. I need to be out there learning because I'm also studying when I'm out doing different things. So pick the extracurriculars that are good for you. If you're a dancer, dance. Build a body of dance. Do what you do. giving back. Community service is very important to what we do. We want to motivate and empower and make a difference in people's lives. We have to be enmeshed in our community. Broward Health is a part of its community. We're out there trying to make a difference. So in high school, there are many, many ways for you guys to make a difference in your community, your school community, the community in your neighborhood, your church community, communities all around you. Do something good for somebody. That's how you nurture your soul. If you have the opportunity, try to be a leader. Try to run something, help to organize something, help to build something, show initiative, try to develop something. Doing all these things, all those things are transferable skills to you as a physician. Next slide, please. Now you're in college. Early up, meet with every single college has a pre-med advisor and a pre-med office. Be in there all the time. Talk with your advisor. Help them, partner with them for them to help you to build your schedule. You have 4 years in college. You need to get yourself ready now for medical school. In college, or some of you might have not even 4 years, if you do enough AP and IB things, sometimes they translate and you get some credits. But regardless, when you come to pick your major in college, pick the major that you are interested in. So there's no such thing as the major for medical school. You can major in anything you want. And actually, we love the kids that major in something that's not straight up biochem, physics, math, because that's what most people major in. The philosophy major, the sociology major, the French major, the history major, they are very interesting people. The business major, oh my goodness, I wish I had done business in college. All the things that may not be, strictly science, but you love it. If you love something and you really want to do more of it, major in that if you like. If you're a science geek and you love bio, then major in that. Whatever it is that you like, you can major in. What medical schools have done, they said major in anything, but there are certain classes that you must take. Those could be within your major. So if you're in a bio major, most of those classes will be embedded anyway. If you're a history major, not so much, you're going to have to do those classes. For medical school, you have to do biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, and physics. You need to do those with the lab and math. Then there's some courses that not every medical school requires, but most recommend. Everybody wants a well-rounded person. So English and a foreign language is always recommended. Biochemistry, most schools want biochemistry. Psychology and sociology are excellent courses to take, and now they are represented on the Mcat. So highly suggested that you take that. And then medical anthropology and history are just cool things to take if you can. Don't have to, but I'm going to show you something a little later so you can know exactly what subjects to take when. Next slide, please. I want you all to be very familiar with the WAMC. That is Association of American Medical Colleges. They have all the resources for medical school, all the resources of how you get into medical school and what you need. So tonight or at any time, tell your parents too, to read about this. Just Google WAMC, AAMC pre-med requirements. If you Google that, the first link that comes up, that website has a link to every single medical school in the United States. You can go on the actual medical school and it's going to tell you what the requirements are for that particular medical school. So I've shown you FSU, Florida State, in Tallahassee, one of our local schools in the state of Florida. If you said to yourself, oh, okay, I'm in college, I want to apply to multiple medical schools, I want to live in a big city, I want to go to a huge school, or I want to be in a rural place, I want to be in the Northeast or the South, you'll have that discussion with your family and your advisors. You'll pick the schools that you want. You can go on, look at the pre-med requirements, and you see for Florida State, they're going to tell you that you need English, you need math, you need bio, organic chemistry, physics, biochem. Then they recommend sociology, psychology, genetics, and Spanish. And they tell you how many credit hours you need. And they also tell you which ones you need to do with the lab. They will also tell you on their websites the profile of the average person that goes there. So their average MCAT score, their average GPA. And to go into medical school, they look at 2 GPAs, your overall GPA and your science GPA. So you want to do very, very well in these courses and in your science courses. And FSU tells you all of these courses, you've got to get a C or better. But I'm going to tell you, try to get A's and B's, right? But if you get below a C, you're going to have a very hard time getting into any of these places. All right, next slide, please. Medical schools want you to have good grades. As I said, you want a high GPA. You want to do well on the MCAT. The MCAT is like the SATs, but that's a test to get into medical school. You want to score high and you want to get good letters of recommendation. So while you're going through high school now, and when you're in medical school, when you're in college, you're going to get close to certain professors, right? So when you're in a class and you love the class and you love the professor, go and talk to the professor. Let them know, I'm interested in going to medical school. I'm in this history class. I love what you're doing. I love what you're about. I'm very interested in this and that. Go to office hours, build rapport, build relationship with the professor. So at the end of the day, when you need your letter of recommendation, they know you. They know what you're about. They can talk to you, all right? You're gonna need 3 or 4 letters of recommendation. Most colleges, the pre-med office will also send a letter on your behalf. You'll need letters of recommendation from high school as well, so get to know professors so they can talk about you. All right, next slide, please. Medical schools are gonna look at you in certain boxes, right? They want a whole well-rounded person. So apart from your good grades and your letters of recommendation and your good MCAT score, they wanna know that you've done something with medicine, right? You can't say, oh, I wanna be a doc. And they say, well, have you ever been in a hospital? Have you ever been in a clinic? Have you ever been in a nursing home? You ever done or seen anybody be a doctor? And you go, no, not really. That's not gonna fly, right? How do you know you wanna be something if you've never seen it? So they want you to have some kind of clinical exposure or shadowing or exposure to being a doctor. They also want you to do something outside of just your grades, right? So if you have to work, many of you will have to work in high school sometimes. Many of you will have to work in college. I had to work all the time. So the working from I was 16, never stopped working. I needed to pay for stuff and fund stuff. So the people in medical school, they know that. They know that kids have to work sometimes. So they take that into consideration. Get into your community, do some community service, volunteer, whether it has to do with medicine or not, just do something for somebody else. Research, not everybody has an opportunity to do research. If you do have that opportunity, you should do that. As I said earlier on, we're curious people. We always are wanting to know, why does this work like that and how can we make it better? So if you have an opportunity to do that in your colleges, please take advantage of that. Leadership, we're leaders, physicians are leaders. You want to be able to develop those leadership skills. So as best as you can, try to join organizations or start things yourself that you can be part of decision-making, part of conflict resolution, part of having to make something out of nothing. And we're teachers, we're lifelong teachers. So teach something. So many of you are so good at so many things, whatever it is. Teach somebody how to do that. Work with somebody, mentor somebody, tutor somebody, show them that you're good at that as well. Next slide, please. Remember, you can do it. You can do it. It's a recipe. If you go through and do it step by step by step, you can do it. Your path might be different. Some of us go to school in the United States. Some of us go to MD school. Some of us go to DO school. Some of us go to school outside of the United States. All of us are going to be doctors. All of us are going to take care of patients. And all of us are going to do what we love. This is our passion. We love to do this. We touch people with our eyes, with our smile, with our hands, with our brains, with our hearts. If you want to do it and you are passionate about it and will commit to it, you absolutely can do it. We need you to do this. We need you. Our patients want to go to physicians that look like them, that understand them, that can relate to them. We need you to be out there helping to take care of your community. So if you want to follow us, next slide, please. I put up some handles on social media. Those are some of the residency programs at Royal Health for family medicine, pediatrics, emergency medicine, internal medicine, and surgery. You can hit us up on social media. So I know that I've talked quickly because our time is short and you guys probably want to ask some questions. Later on, I'm going to tell you how you can pay for it because it's 4 years of college and 4 years of medical school. And then, 3 to 5 to 6 years of residency, depending on what you choose. How do we afford it? So we'll tell you some of that in the slides after. But I think we're going to take a short break now so we can answer some questions. So let's see how we do this. Are there going to be questions in the chat? How long do you have to go to school? So 4 years of college and 4 years of medical school is the standard. Many of the medical schools now you can graduate in 3 years. If you do well and you know what field you want to go into and you want to do residency attached to the medical school, some of the medical schools have gone to 3 years. Dr. JD, how significant do you think the military was in your journey to medical school?
So with I was going to try to get to that too. That's such a loaded question because for me personally, I think what I gained from the military was a couple of things. I gained a load of discipline, right? After my experience and my training with the military, it became routine for me to be able to, and I think it guided me while I was in medical school, to be able to, wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, do some physical activity, to get a workout in, do some pre-reading, then go to class, come home, study, go to sleep, and then wake up and do the same thing every single day. That's what I gained. That's one of the things that's a quality that I gained from being in the military, because that's basically what it was for me throughout my training, throughout my service. They're very, very big on discipline. And I think I was a pretty disciplined person beforehand, but it really channeled that for me. But then also was the medical experience I got, because I joined as a medic, and I purposely joined as a medic because I wanted that medical experience. I didn't just join because I wanted something to do. I didn't just join and just said, give me whatever job, because that will happen to a lot of people. I knew I personally wanted that medical experience, so I joined as a medic, and I got great medical experience as a medic. And that actually influenced me to go into emergency medicine, because I loved the work I did as a medic. And I knew I wanted to do something as close to that, but be a physician. And honestly, I think what I'm doing now is as close as it gets. So those are the two things that I gained from that. But I wouldn't say that's anything that anybody has to do to get through that. But it just works for me that way. Also, with the military, that's something you guys want to look into. There's a lot of educational benefits for it. With the Army National Guard, I know that they pay 100% for Florida school tuition, and that's huge. For me, graduating high school student, I wish I would have known that, because as a young man, I always thought I was going to play football in high school. I mean, thought I was going to play football in college because I played football in high school. I was pretty good at it. But the offers that I got weren't schools that I wanted to go to. And I wanted to stay in Florida. I didn't get any offers for any schools in Florida. But if I would have known, but I did also get academic scholarships. But if I would have known about the National Guard and the tuition benefits that they had from back then, I probably would have done that way back then and would have done a lot better as far as financially when it comes to education. Also, even with medical school, the military has health professional scholarship programs. If you go active, they also have Army National Guard programs where they pay you a stipend monthly. You do a drill monthly for them, a medical drill, and they pay you as well. Actually, right now, I'm actually in the process of commissioning as a captain in the Army, and I'll be eligible for those programs. So I gained a lot of discipline. I gained medical experience, and I will be reaping even more benefits as far as financial benefits, and then repayment options for the loans that I've taken out in medical school. And there's a lot of benefits there are that they have for medical school or just for 4-year undergraduate programs. But I wouldn't say that you have to go that route because there's so many other things out there that you can do without the military. But if there's something that you're interested in, by all means, do your research. But I always say, make sure you do your research and you know exactly what you want to get out of the military before you make that decision, because the military is a big commitment. It's a huge commitment. You know, I spent a lot of time, those years I spent a lot of time away from my family. I had to miss a lot. So that's something that you guys want to think about, okay?
All right, let's talk about residency. Lots of questions on that. Residency is not a part of medical school. So after college, you're going to go into medical school, and that's the process of becoming a doctor. When you graduate from medical school, you're a doctor. Now, you have to study further to be able to practice. So you choose a residency program. So a residency program, you can do residencies in many, many, many things. For instance, pediatrics is a type of residency program. Emergency medicine is a type of residency program. Internal medicine, where you're taking care of adults, is a sort of residency program. They're all different lengths depending on the residency you choose. Somebody asked what's the process of becoming a surgeon. If you want to do general surgery, that's 5 years after medical school. There's a process called a match, and I know previously we had gotten a question about the match. After medical school, whatever residency program you want to apply to, you go through a centralized application process, which is called ERAS, and you apply to many programs. You then interview at those programs. After you interview at those programs, you are going to rank which programs you like. It's like dating online, so all of you will know about it. You're going to rank the programs that you love, and the programs, they're going to be interviewing many people too. They're going to rank the people that they love, and the computer sorts them, and that's what the match is. And then on a particular day of the year, you will, and the programs will receive, I got into the general surgery program at Broward Health. So that's what the match is. Okay, how to study for the MCAT. MCAT's a big test. And if you remember one other thing or two other things from tonight, apart from you can do it, and we're going to teach you how to afford it. When it's time for you guys to take the MCAT, and you do that in your junior or senior year of college, because many people take a gap year after college is over, pay attention to it. It's one of the most important tests you will ever take in your life. You want to do well on the MCATs. You want to get a great score on your MCATs. You can study with their many, many, many programs that will train you for the MCAT. Some of them are quite costly. So there's Princeton Review and Kaplan and other sorts. I'm not trying to endorse any that will train you for MCAT. But there's also a resource that I love called Khan Academy. You guys might have used it for some of your high school work. It's completely free, and it has all kinds of videos on all the MCAT topics, and it's completely free for you. There are books you can get, but do a lot of studying, do a lot of practice questions. There are free practice questions that WAMC has, and then there's some that are paid. You really want to take it very seriously. The MCAT is based on physics, biology, biochemistry, general chemistry, organic chemistry, English, psychology, and sociology. Those are the topics that are on the MCAT. So your training in school and studying for them will be essential. Lots of questions about shadowing. Most hospital systems have a lot of shadowing opportunities. Unfortunately, in COVID, because of, it was a pandemic, highly contagious, a lot of hospitals had to kind of stop the shadowing. But now, as the COVID numbers in Broward County are decreasing, it's opening up a little bit. So you can usually contact the medical staff offices of whatever hospital system you're interested in. At Broward Health, it's a medical staff office if you are looking for a shadowing opportunity when you're in college. Tends to be more useful in college than high school. I'm going to let Dr. JD answer that as soon as I go down this a little bit. What's the average GPA you need to get into med school, and do you have to get straight A's? I would love for all of you to get straight A's. Shoot for the top. So if you can have a 4.0 GPA, that will be fabulous. Less than a 3 GPA, you're going to struggle and have a hard time. So I would say, really average GPA to go to med school is probably 3.5 or higher. Doesn't mean that you can't get in with less. Go into every single, on that site I told you, you can go into all the school websites, all the med school websites, and they will show you what their average GPA is for that school, what their MCAT range is for that school as well, what their MCAT average is for that school. And I suggest when you're applying to med school, apply to a school that you think is out of your reach, apply to one that, is, and then apply to one that you feel pretty safe in based on those numbers. Do your research so you know kind of where you want to apply. That's all very interesting. Yes, sir.
A piggy bank offer for you.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I seen a question about going to medical school outside of Caribbean.
Yeah, I was saving that one for you.
So one of the biggest things, I just need to go across, one of the biggest things I always tell people, and kind of goes along with what Dr. Roking was saying herself. Whenever you look at medical schools, for one, you want to absolutely score as high as you can on your MCAT. You want to get as high as you can on your GPA from the beginning. One of my biggest mistakes was that, I started off really good, but then I kind of stammered through the rest of college. But you want to make sure you keep your GPA as strong as you can, especially your science GPA. When you're studying for MCAT, you want to make sure that you give yourself, if you can afford it, give yourself the opportunity to do nothing else but study for the MCAT. If you have that time, if you actually have the time and you have the funds to just do nothing else but study for the MCAT, give yourself that opportunity. You'll be thankful for it afterwards. But then when it comes to actually applying to medical school, I always tell people apply to the US schools first. Whether it's the MD or DO, it really doesn't matter, apply. And then if that becomes a challenge into getting in, because we know how that is, look into the Caribbean medical schools. There's a handful of Caribbean medical schools that I would tell you to look into because of just the way the curriculums are set up. If you want to talk about more of that later, we can. But when you go to most of these schools, it's the same curriculum. It's the U.S. curriculum, specifically the ones I went to. So U.S. curriculum, and then what you have to do is you have to make sure you pass your step 1, you pass your step 2, you pass all your classes, and then you take all the required clinical rotations. And especially for Caribbean medical students, international medical students, because there's not just Caribbean schools, there's other schools that you can go to in England, in Australia, and things of that nature. You want to make sure you have all your scores for your step 1 and your step 2, and all your clinical rotations. They should be finished before you put your application in for residency. That's extremely important because they don't grant you as much leniency when you go to those schools when it comes times for applying for residency as the U.S. medical schools. Your application has to be tip top. All your scores have to be in, and then all your clinical rotations have to be completed. Well, not all of them, but majority of them have to be completed by the time you turn your application in. And I would say that's the biggest thing about going to Caribbean medical school.
And Dr. Roking and Dr. Farrell, just a point of information. We just want to say that we're getting about 10 minutes away from the end of the session. So I just wanted to propose this. Would you like to continue answering maybe another question or two? Maybe we can answer a few of these after 7 o'clock if you have the schedule, of course, if you have the time, because then we have the raffle and the scholarship information as well. So what do you think? Another question or two?
All right, we'll do 2 more questions. We can, I don't know about Dr. JD, but we can stay past 7 for a little bit to answer more questions. I'll do 2 more. We'll stop, we'll do scholarships, and then we can take more after, because I see so many questions. I think I want to answer the question about balance. No matter what you do in life, you have to have balance. So medicine is our job, is what we do, is what we love, but we make sure that we don't lose ourselves as people. So if we were soccer players, if we were piano players, if we have family, if we have a dog, we make sure we do all of those things, because you can't give away what you don't have. So if you are burnt out and strung out, you'll never be able to take care of your patients. So you want to make sure that you keep yourself fine and upright. So for COVID, it was hard on us. It was hard on all the frontline workers. It was hard on doctors because people were very sick and a lot of people were dying. So we had to really do a lot of reflection and make sure that we took care of ourselves to keep ourselves going and be strong for our patients. There's a question about GPAs and competitive schools versus less competitive schools. Whatever school you go to, do very, very well. So if you go to Harvard and get a 2.0 GPA, you're probably not getting to medical school. No matter where you go, do the best that you possibly can do. I see a lot of questions about fellowship programs and so forth. You do your basic residency programs before you do fellowship programs. So there's a specific question about dermatology. That's a residency program. You need 4 years of medical school or 3 or 4 years of medical school and 4 years of training to do dermatology. We can stop here. We'll do the scholarships and then we can take some more questions at the end. Does that work? Can we do the scholarship section now?
Certainly, yes, we can go into scholarships. Oh, okay, students, so I'm going to speak briefly on this, and then I believe Dr. Roking, you have some scholarships to mention as well. I just want to make sure, is that correct? I just want to, oh, Dr. Roking, you're muted, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, after you do your talk, then I can just pitch in with a couple things, depending on what you're going to say.
Certainly, certainly. So we'll just start with a few things, students. First of all, and again, a big shout out to our doctors who are on taking time out of their schedule to meet with us today and answer so many of your questions. So first things, we're going to start with how do you afford medical school? Well, there's a few things to look into. Number one, institutional awards. These are a need or merit-based award provided by a college or university. Those awards stick with those institutions. You earn them through various websites that I'm going to talk about in a second. FAFSA, filling out the FAFSA application. This is critical to your financial freedom while you're in college, both undergrad, graduate. This is funding that is exclusively to students attending post-secondary institutions, and then private award. These are awards that comes from companies, service groups, foundations, etc. We're going to get into a little bit more detail. Let's move on to the next slide. So here's the thing that I need students to understand. $2.6 billion goes unclaimed almost every year. This happened actually in 2018. $2.6 billion went unclaimed by students who were eligible for Pell Grants, but simply didn't apply for the FAFSA. Nor did they apply for other scholarships that were available to them. One scholarship database that I'm going to throw out right now for Broward County Public Schools students is something called Naviance. And I know you guys have heard about this. I'm sure your Brace advisors have mentioned it. This tool is accessible to you as soon as you start school here. You need to log into Naviance. There's a college tab at the top of the page, top right of the page. You click that tab and it'll take you to a list of scholarships, whether they're institutional or private awards. So Naviance is one tool that you can use, and there are tons of scholarships in there. But again, we lose so much money. And here's a list of those scholarships. You can take a picture of this actually, and it'll give you a lot more information. You can use this, go to these websites, CapEx. All you're doing is creating a profile. And then within that profile, you're adding information such as your demographics, where do you live, et cetera. But then it gets into your program of study. That's when you enter the health science information, your health science programs, business programs, and this databases will link your profile, fit your profile to scholarships that they actually, match. So take a picture of this. I'll give you guys another few seconds. But I want to pause here in the interest of time and give the floor back to Dr. Roking, who has a little bit more information for you. But students, just make sure to take a picture of this, and then we'll take the slide down in a little bit. Dr. Roking, the floor is yours.
So what I was going to say is that industry, don't forget industry. A lot of industry have a lot of money to give students that are going to medical school and college. Fraternities, sororities also have money for students that are going to college and medical school. So look at all the big companies around. When I say big companies, I'm talking about Walmart and Costco and Amazon and all those companies. Smaller companies also will have scholarship money. A lot of medical schools now, especially over the last 5 years, are doing tuition based on need only. So what I mean by that is if you demonstrate need in your FAFSA, they are committed to covering all the tuition that is demonstrated by your need. So if after you do your FAFSA, you're really, your family is making under X amount of money, and really in order for you to go to school, you'd have to take out a loan, those schools will cover your tuition. So there's schools in California that are doing that. There's schools in New York that are doing that. 3 years ago, NYU came out and has free tuition for every single person going to that medical school. So there's probably 10 or 15 medical schools now in the United States that are making sure a lot of the Ivy League schools, which people run away from and don't think they can apply to, they will cover all your need. So don't shy away from anything. Go on all those websites and read that, because there are a lot of schools that will cover your need. There was a question earlier about, can you work in medical school? Really not recommended, because there is so much work to do. There's a large volume of work, and you're working in the holidays, and you're working on the wards, and you're working, long hours. So we don't encourage work in medical school. You can work in college. When you're a resident, it is a paid job. It's a job. After medical school, you're a doctor. When you get into a residency program, it's a job and you do get paid. So it's not so much of a problem then. So in medical school, you are going to need some support with scholarship and grants, and if you have to, loans to get through that. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rose King. We greatly appreciate it. Students, as we mentioned earlier on, we have a raffle now that we're going to do. We're going to ask 2 questions here. And actually, Dr. King, I'm going to ask if you could help us with coming up with these questions based on the information that you've provided. But we're going to ask these 2 questions. It's an opportunity for students to win a $20 e-gift card. So students, I hope you've been listening. After these questions, Dr. Rose King and Dr. Farrell have graciously agreed to stay on to answer a few more of your questions. We thank them so much from the bottom of our hearts. So I will ask Dr. Rose King to pose the first question.
All right, what are 3 pre-med courses that you must take to get into medical school? 3 courses you must take in college that are required. Oh, wow. They're just knocking it out of the park.
And the way it works, we try to look for the person who answers, obviously the person who answers the question, the first person to answer the question correctly.
Oh, I saw it a long time ago. They got it. They got it. I don't know how you're going to do it, because I see many people right answer.
Looks like Jonathan Beckford has 3, and Juan Boehm, they're the first 2.
Should I ask the second one now, or?
Yes, let's ask the second question.
All right, what do you have to major in to get into medical school? What does your major have to be? Well, they all got this one. Oh, wow.
Okay, and Stefan, did you catch the person who got it correct?
The first person to type something, anything you want, was Camille. I can't see your whole last name, but Camille. So we got Camille for this question. And then we've got, it was Jonathan Beckford for the last one.
Okay, so congratulations to Camille and Jonathan. Do us a favor, Camille and Jonathan, we need you to do us a favor, Camille and Jonathan. We need you to send us a DM, a direct message. We need your name, your email address, your full name, email address, the grade level you're in, and the high school you attend. So please send that to us directly. You can send that to myself, Colleen Lockwood, Stefan DaCosta. We need your full name, your grade level, school you attend, and email address. So congratulations to Jonathan and Camille. Great job. Okay, students, now we're going to go back to your questions just for a little bit. And again, we thank Dr. O'King and Dr. Farrow for taking some time out to do this. So Dr. O'King, was there a question that you saw that you were going to answer previously, or how would you like to approach this?
So there were some questions that were sent in before, and I'll let Dr. JD take a stab at it, and then I'll take a stab at it as well. What's the biggest challenge that you faced in medical school, Dr. JD?
Man, that's tough. Cause you and me both know that medical school is tough. But I think the biggest thing is consistently maintaining the volume. And I think Dr. O'King said something, and I 100% agree with what she said earlier. Some people feel like, oh yeah, I'm not smart enough to go to medical school, or whatever they think it is. You know, you do have to have a level of intelligence to go to medical school and do well in medical school. But I think the biggest thing that you have to have is a sense of ambition and just drive to get through the value of medical school. Because medical school is constant volume. You're constantly having to deal with a high volume of information that you just have to learn. And there's nowhere around it. You know, there's literally nowhere around it. There's no way that you can shortcut being in medical school. There's no just secret answer that you can have to doing well in medical school. There's resources that can help you. That can help you learn the information, but you still have to learn the information. And if you don't learn information at one point, it's gonna show at some other point. And one way or another, you have to learn the information, and you have to learn. I remember the biggest thing I remember. One of the things I remember was one of my first anatomy exams. I'm like, there's no way they actually expect us to. There's no way we had to remember all of this, right? And when I took the exam, I was like, wow, they really wanted us to remember all of this. And when I tell you they want you to remember all of it, if they bring it up, they want you to remember it. And that was my biggest thing. That was such a surprise to me. I always tell people I really learned how to study while I was in medical school. And that's not, you don't want to do that. You want to build really strong habits coming into medical school. You already want to know how you learn the best before you come to medical school. For me, I learned that while I was in. And that was one of the biggest struggles I had. But like I said, the biggest thing that I struggled with was consistently dealing with high volume of information that you just have to learn. And that's just what it is. There's no way around it. You just consistently have to deal and figure out how to learn a high value amount of information. And like I said, I always tell people, like, anybody can do this as long as they're willing to dedicate their life to it. There's no way around it. You can't just decide that. And I seen somebody ask earlier, can you work and be in medical school? You can. I mean, nowadays maybe, because there's a lot of things that you can do online. There's a lot of social influencers and things of that nature. If you could do stuff that's passive, okay, cool. But you can't hold a job and be a medical student, because being a medical student is like working two jobs. Literally, it's literally like working two jobs. Because from 9 to 5, you're in school, and then from 5 to at least 10, you're studying what you learned while you're in school. So the biggest thing is dealing with a high volume consistently. That was my biggest the biggest thing I had to adjust to.
So I think that what Dr. JD is saying is not different than you're going to hear from the basketball player that you admire most, or the rapper that you admire most, or the swimmer that you admire most. Anybody that's highly successful, if you talk to them, they spend a lot of their time, years and years and years, developing their craft. They're always working their craft. So Dr. JD is in his first year. I'm in my 30-something year, and I'm still always developing my craft, always getting better every day, always learning more, always reaching more. Because when you go to a hospital and it's your grandma or your son or your dad, you want the physician that's in front of them to know what they're doing. I guarantee you. So we want to be the very best that we can be. And we take that seriously. So it's a lot of volume. And I think the biggest challenge for me was just balance. How do I maintain myself? How do I keep the people close to me that I love and the things that I want to do close to me and still do excellent? So it's just balance. And balance is something that is a lifelong journey of learning how to keep all the balls in the air. And you become very good at it after you practice a bit. There's some questions about how does the job you do make you feel happy every day? I smile every single day. I wake up and I am so blessed. I'm so blessed to have been given the opportunity to be here and do this and touch people. And if I come back 100 times, I want to do this all over again. It's the best thing in the world. I can't even, Dr. JD says living the dream. I've lived the dream. We live the dream every day. We're always smiling. It's tough. It's hard work, but it's the most satisfying work ever. Somebody asked about the PEDS journey. If you want to do pediatrics, it's a 3-year residency program, and you take care of children in all different settings. You take care of children in the emergency department. You take care of children in the general floor. You take care of children in the ICUs. You take care of children in the nursery, in the newborn intensive care unit, and in the outside clinics, and in all the subspecialties of pediatrics. And I think pediatrics is a calling. It takes a special person, and it's an amazing, amazing field. Of course, because I'm the one that's talking, I'm a pediatrician. I'm sure any field that any of us are in, we would be happy to talk about. There's a question about what specific college in Florida do I recommend? For anybody that is a Florida resident, I suggest you apply to every single medical school in the state of Florida. The state schools, and we have many. We're actually very lucky in Florida. In some states, there's only one medical school. In Florida, we have at least 7 or 8 medical schools, which is amazing, several of which are state schools. So the state schools, their charter is to take care of their own citizens. So you have your best chance to go to medical school in your state school in the state that you are a resident. So make sure you apply to all your state schools. The state schools in Florida are Florida State, University of Florida, University of Central Florida, University of South Florida, Florida International University, Florida Atlantic University. I think I hit all the state ones. And then you have a lot of private ones. You have University of Miami, you have osteopathic schools as well. You have Nova Southeastern, you have school in Bradenton, Lake Erie in Bradenton. You have another campus of Nova in Clearwater. I don't think I've forgotten it. I think I've done all of them, but there are lots and lots of medical schools in the state of Florida. So make sure if you're interested in that, you apply to all of them. I believe I have gotten through most of the questions in the chat, unless somebody has any final question that they want to ask. There's a question about doing for money in medical school. So you can get loans, as I said, you can get grants and scholarships. And when you work through college, you save. But you're studying a lot, so you don't spend a lot of money. Believe me, you are studying, you're in class, you're out, so you don't really spend a lot of money learning because you're focused. What does
I seen a question, Dr. Roque, I wanted to.
Go ahead, oops. Can you mute yourself if you're not talking so that Dr. JD and I can hear? Perfect, thank you. Go ahead, Dr. JD.
I seen somebody said, does your undergrad school prestige, quote unquote, matter? No, it doesn't. Your grades matter. Your grades and your scores matter. If you decide that you want to go to a community college for the first 2 years of college to save money, and then go to a university afterwards, whether it's a major university, a state school university, a private university, a university outside of Florida, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Florida State. I think Florida State is the best decision, but I don't know, no bias. But either way, your grades are your prestige. The name of the school doesn't really make much of a difference. I mean, yes, nice to say I went to whoever, whatever. But if you went to whoever, whatever, and you don't have a high GPA and you don't have a high Mcat score, you don't have a complete application where you're able to shadow, where you were able to do some sort of research, where you're able to do this, where you're able to show your interest in medicine, doesn't make a difference. Your scores, your grades, how you've built your application is what matters. That is the prestige. The application that you put together, the packet that you put together is the prestige that you have. The name of the school that you have means absolutely nothing. In my opinion, I don't know if Dr. Roking feels anything different, but yeah, the name of your school won't get you into medical school because the name of the school won't give you the grades. They won't give you the MCAT score. You could go to Harvard and still bomb the MCAT. You could go to Harvard and still walk out with a 2.0 GPA. And that will do absolutely nothing for you. Now I'm not gonna, if you go to Harvard, you have a 3.9 and a high MCAT score. Yeah, you know, that says a lot on the application that will bring your chances are higher, you know. But you could go, I literally spoke to one of the attendings at that's it, because I'm doing a rotation in labor and delivery right now at Broward Health. And she is an OB-GYN, and she told me, she's like, yeah, I did 2 years at BC. I went and I did 2 years at a Florida undergrad. I got my my MD, and at some point I became a professor, professor at Harvard for medicine. You know, it's like, you know, from BC to being a professor at Harvard, that's a long way, but it came down to what she was doing. It didn't come down to what she did as a word, like what she went to. So in a lot of words, it doesn't matter. It's just the packet that you put together and what you do as a person. That's what matters.
I'll answer one last question. There are lots and lots of paths to go to school. You can go to community college, and then college you can work. There are many people that come back second careers. My favorite are the people that have been moms for a long period of time, and then they're 40 something, their kids go off to college, and then they come back to medical school. And then there's a question about, does anything scare you as a doc? And do you ever question your decision to go into medicine? So I never question my decision to go into medicine. I am so glad that I made that choice. I'm scared every day. I come to work, I'm scared every day. I'm scared that I'll make a mistake. I'm scared that I won't know the answer. But I've disciplined myself over the years. So if I don't know the answer, I know where to find it. And everybody has their different things that they believe in. I believe in a higher power. I say a prayer every day that I come to work to take care of my patients and to take care of myself and to give me the insight and the intellect to make the right decision. So it has been a privilege for Dr. JD and I to spend some time with you tonight. And I know that they need to wrap it up. So I will stop talking.
No worries. First of all, let's show some more love in the chat for Dr. Roking and Dr. Farouk for taking their time out of their schedule, out of their day to meet with us. And I feel like they'd stay here forever, but we know the importance of the career that they work in. It's a crucial time now. So thank you very much for all that you guys have done today. We greatly appreciate it. We are truly inspired. Handles are on the screen, Instagram handles. We're recording this. So of course, we'll post this on our YouTube channel. So you can go to Bridge to Life SFL and look at that on YouTube. And of course, as always, follow us on Instagram as well, Bridge to Life SFL. That's at Bridge, the number 2 Life SFL. Definitely follow us on Instagram. Again, we want to thank our special guest speakers for closing us out this week. Thank you so much, everyone. Students, thank you for showing up. With that being said, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your night. Take care.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming on. I'm so happy I was able to be a part of this. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.